Our next reader is Kate Kahn, who I've had the pleasure of working with for a while now on her fiction. Kate had a decade of working in private practice as a veterinarian and an acupuncturist, of all things, and changed careers in 2002 to become a medical writer and journalist. But she also writes terrific fiction and memoir. She's been awarded writer's residencies at Hedgebrook and Ragdale, and most recently the Montana Artists Refuge, and it's been really exciting to have her in my midst. So, welcome, Kate.
Thank you, Dory, so much for hosting this great open house, and I really appreciate the resource that Writers in Progress offers us struggling writers, so thank you. I'm going to read an excerpt from a longer piece, and this is fiction, and it takes place in Beaumont, Texas in 1959. She lived in the trailer across the park from us. It was set near the scrub pines, all brand new and shiny. I remember that day I saw her outside there, hanging up her white undies on a string between two bushes. Her hair was that brown red you get from a box. I went up to her and I said, "I love your hair. Who does it for you?" She said, "Why, I do it myself, honey." She laughed a little and touched her soft curls. She smiled all toothy-like and then pressed her lips together, thinking. She laid a hand on my shoulder. "Why, I can make yours the same color. What's your name?" "Mine's Audrey." "Belle," I said, and looked at the roughly white curtains on her trailer windows. "We live at 49A. I pointed towards the dirt road. "You just moved here?" she asked, and pinned up a bra that had lacy stiff cones. "Yeah, my husband just got a job at the refinery," I said. "Well, I can tell you ain't from around here. You don't talk like a Texan gal." "Pennsylvania. We both grew up there, got married in high school." "That's so," she said, and narrowed her eyes. "I can't think of anything more romantic. My husband is the grocery store manager in town. God, I love that man," she added, and fluffed up the things on the clothesline. "We just got this new trailer. Why don't you come in and see?" she said, and moved towards the folding steps covered with rubber mats. "Oh, I can't," I said. "I left my kid Gary alone for a few minutes, and I have to get back, but maybe some other time." "Well, when are we going to do your hair?" she said. I giggled, kind of embarrassed. Plus, it made me anxious to think about putting that stuff in my hair. I didn't know what Smitty would say. Maybe he wouldn't like it. I already had bleached it a couple times in the past. He liked that. I didn't know if he would like the red. "How about you make me blonde instead? It is such a pain doing it yourself." She bit her lower lip and looked me up and down. Right now my hair was its normal rat brown. "Blonde," she murmured. "No, I just can't see it. You're a redhead. I'm the one who should be blonde." Then she slapped me on my bare arm. "That's what we'll do. Me blonde, you red. And won't we be the hottest tickets at the World Pirates Trailer Court? How about tomorrow afternoon at your place? You don't work or nothing." "I gotta mind my boy, though," I said. She smirked. "Oh, hell, just lock him in the back room," she laughed. It made me uneasy, locked my son away. She must have seen me frown. "Just kidding, dear, but you need to get away from them once in a while, you know. I bet my friend Maura can take him for the day." "You don't have any kids yourself?" I asked. She snorted. "Oh, yeah, I got a kid. My little girl, Erin. She's at my sister's for the summer." "Don't you miss her?" "Miss her? Oh, honey, she'll be back soon enough. I say enjoy while you can. Tell you what, I'll get my friend Maura to take your boy for the day tomorrow. She owes me. I'll come over and we'll have our own beauty salon going." We were both sitting on the couch and giggling like schoolgirls when Smitty walked into the trailer home from the refinery. My hair was still wet and limp, but it was as red as oak leaves in October, and we had turned Audrey's blonde. Hers had dried into luscious swirls. "Howdy, hon," I said to Smith. "Aren't you the lucky man today? Come home to find Marilyn Monroe and Sophia Loren lying on the Davenport." The place smelled so putrid from the hair dye it made your eyes water. Smitty just stood there. He looked Audrey up and down. "Who the hell is this?" he asked. Audrey trotted over from her perch on the sofa and extended her freckled hand. "Audrey Lane, I'm your neighbor. I know you must be Smitty. Belle and I hit it off like two houses afire." She giggled some more and pursed her lips. I noticed she had a habit of doing that. I hope you don't mind, but we're just having some girl fun here. She tousled her curls and winked at him. Smitty just looked at her. Give me a beer, Smitty said to me, and sat down on the sofa, his legs spread wide. He already smelled like he'd had a few. Honey dear, I said, reaching into the fridge, would you mind taking those dirty jeans off before you sit down on anything? I handed him the can of Schlitz. It's so hard to keep everything clean. Yeah, you look like you've been working your ass off today, Smitty said. Where the hell is the kid? Well, that's just the greatest thing, I said. Audrey's pal, Maura, took him to the beach. Smitty was kind of tall and built wiry like a spring. He had beautiful hair that lay in chocolate brown waves. I thought he looked like a lanky Marlon Brando. He was so handsome it made me cry sometimes. Even when he was mad at me, I'd look at him and my heart would just ooze all over the goddamn floor. I was pitiful around him. To the beach, he yelled, with a fucking stranger? What the hell is wrong with you? That was the thing about Smitty. He might yell and holler, and it would get worse and worse. But he was so tired after working, he couldn't get up to hit me. He never had the energy. I felt kind of sorry for him, but it also made me feel smug. As long as I stayed out of arm's reach, I had nothing to worry about. Smitty gulped his beer so fast it sounded like water pouring out of a gallon jug. Glug, glug, glug. I had him another out of the fridge before he even asked for it. Well, I guess I better be going, Audrey said nervously, wiping her stained hands on her apron. Smitty, I think you will wake up tomorrow, take a look at Belle, and think yourself the luckiest man in the world. Just you wait until her hair dries. If I must say so myself, I did a spectacular job. Smitty stared at Audrey. Why the hell don't you get your so-called friend to bring my son back, and then you can go back to your tin can across the way there. Smitty fished around in an ashtray on the lampstand and pulled out a dark brown stogie butt. And you can leave my wife alone, too. He took out his silver lighter from his jeans pocket and rolled it around in his hands. Audrey laughed nervously. Aren't you a scary one? She gave me a peck on the cheek. Gotta go, Belle. What a swell afternoon we had. She skittered out the door before I had a chance to thank her. It was about 9 p.m. by the time Maura's big Buick pulled up and Gary got out all exhausted and hungry. But by that time, Smitty was passed out in the back room, and I had already cleaned up. I knew Smitty didn't want me to work, but the thing was, we needed the money. He was spending too much of it down at Frankie's with his new refinery buddies. I don't know what he did there besides drink. Cards, maybe, dice. He was sloppy most days when he got home. I couldn't blame him. I suppose if I could buy a cheap used jalopy, nothing fancy, I could drive down and get him to come home before he spent all his pay. For a couple of six-packs, Audrey's friend Maura told me she'd be happy to watch Gary for a few hours every day. So I decided to apply for that job at the drugstore in the center of town. It was right after Audrey had dyed my hair, so I knew I was looking good. I put on my one nice summer suit I bought at the Bon-Ton right before Smitty and I got married. It was blue seersucker with cap sleeves and a tight calf-length skirt with a short slit up the back. Audrey came over to the trailer with a pair of white high heels to go with it. Wait a sec, dear, she said as I was getting ready to leave to catch the bus into town. She smudged off some stray lipstick on my cheek. She leaned in and kissed me. Mwah! I'm so proud of you. You're going to be a working girl soon. I began walking from the trailer up to the road. Already I was sweating into my nylons, and each step I took in the white shoes pinched my feet something horrible. At the entry to the trailer court were a bunch of fake white pillars, like something out of a Greek ruin. I suppose it was to make us feel special or not so poor somehow. Maybe as people drove past, they'd think that inside all these metal trailers lived all those ancient Greek gods and goddesses. I tried to remember their names as I stood there. Athena, Zeus, Aphrodite, Olympus. Olympus, wasn't that their home in the clouds? I admit, this place was nicer than that place in Pennsylvania. I looked in my purse to make sure I had the quarter for the bus fare. Inside the pharmacy, big wooden fans whirred quietly overhead. It was real nice in there. The air was cool. The walls were paneled with dark wood halfway up. All the merchandise looked so nice and neat on the shelves. I had never worked in a store before, just at that waitressing job at Della's. There was a man, the owner, counting cash at the register. Hello, I'm here to apply for the clerk position, I said. At first, the owner was not very nice to me. When he talked to me, he looked at my legs, not at my eyes. I think he was Arabic or Jewish. His face was chubby and dark, and he had a beard. He asked me some questions, and then he wanted to make sure I knew how to count pills. I want you to give me 100 of these. He shook a dark amber bottle and set it on the counter next to a metal tray and a dinner knife. Put the pills onto the tray and count them out with the knife, he told me. Then put them in this envelope. Okay, I can do that, sir. I smiled at him and opened the jar. The tiny pink pills made a clatter as I poured them onto the tray. Then I used the knife to separate and count the pills. I did it real fast. He timed me, and it was only 1.5 minutes. I poured them into the envelope. He put on a pair of glasses and looked at me through them. The glasses made his eyes look huge, black and watery. You sure? Want to recount them? No, sir, I added and bit my lip. Maybe I should have recounted them. He dumped them back onto the tray and counted them out himself, slowly, a lot slower than I had done. When he finished, he didn't say anything. Type up these 5 labels. He gave me some rectangular labels that go on pill bottles and a piece of paper with information written on it for each label, the date, a person's name, the medication, and instructions for taking it. He had me sit at a desk with a typewriter. I'll be back in 5 minutes, he said, and glanced at the clock on the wall. My hands began to shake. I didn't know how to type. They taught that in senior year, and I dropped out of high school midway through 10th grade. I sat there. I looked at the clock. A minute had already gone by. I heard the owner grunting as he slid boxes along the floor in the back room. That's when I noticed the cash register was still open. It was about 10 feet away. I could see the money, all the bills in their own slots. It happened very fast. I walked over and took 2 $5 bills. I stuck them down my brassiere. Then I sat back down at the typewriter. Almost immediately, the owner came back out. I don't hear any typing, he said. What's the problem? By now, I was pretty sure sweat marks had appeared around the armpits of my suit jacket. I don't know how to do this, I mumbled, and touched the keys of the typewriter. He looked at my legs again and at the white shoes. Well then, he answered, let's not waste any more of each other's time. I have another girl coming in an hour. I nodded, picked up my purse and said, thank you, sir, and I left. The heat was awful on the sidewalk, like steam from boiling water. I walked down the street to a malt shop and ordered an ice cream sundae. I paid for it with one of the $5 bills. The sundae came with one of those long, dainty dessert spoons. I asked for extra hot fudge and walnuts on top, too. There was a mirror across from my booth, so I couldn't help but see myself sitting there alone. Red hair, red lips, red leather booth, red cherry on the sundae. I felt swank, rich, just for a minute, so I don't know what it was that made me start to cry.